Welcome everyone back to Weekly Weather Updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar. Then we'll go through the GFS, GM, ECMWF, GFS and ECMWF Ensembles, and we'll finish up with the UKMO run as well. Now we have got a couple days now of wetter and quite unsettled conditions. However, if you're looking for something a bit drier, don't need to look too far, because by sort of Tuesday, Wednesday time, things are going to be drying up, especially in the south, and for pretty much all, it's going to be drier for the middle to end of this coming working week. Colder conditions, though, with an inversion in the south, and beyond that, it's all about what happens at high pressure during the middle of January. We are seeing quite a high chance now that we're going to see at least a cold snap over the next week or two. As we'll have a look at the models in a minute and the ensembles, they're all pretty much showing a cold snap. No prolonged cold spell, but a couple days of northerly or easterly winds is very possible over the next 7 to 14 days. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Also do sign up for channel membership if you're interested, really cheap, and of course you get some exclusive content, of course podcast coming out on Wednesday for channel members. So if you have a look at the live radar, you can see nowhere near as much precipitation around as we've had over the last few days. Now, of course, there are still a few showers across the north, and in the far southwest we do have another weather front approaching. And of course, under these showers and these bands of rain, it is miserable. But for many areas, things are a little bit brighter. Fewer showers for many. And across sort of central England, into the east, it's a pretty decent day. Sunshine, and now the sun is setting. Conditions will be getting pretty chilly tonight. But it's been a lot better than we've had over the last couple of days, even though some saw snow later this week. For many, though, it was just really quite unsettled, chilly, windy, and today's been a little bit better. However, we will still see some rain over the next 24 hours before, as I said, things dry up near the middle of the week. So if you do have a look at the GFS, you can see how we're under low pressure influence at the moment, but it's not particularly deep area of low pressure. That's why we don't have too many showers around at the moment. However, we do see another weather front push in from the west by Monday. However, high pressure is building up from the south, so as I said, by sort of Tuesday time, the south will be much drier, and that will be spreading further northwards. Now, as you can see, the high pressure does build over the top of the UK by the middle to the end of this working week, and under the centre of that high, across central southern England, we'll see an inversion take place. So the upper air temperatures showing quite mild conditions. However, towards the surface, we're likely to see below average highs and lows. Could be sort of 4-5 degrees in the south and freezing overnight with freezing fog and general fog around as well. Mildest conditions actually probably going to be over across parts of northwest Scotland. As you can see, the isobars are a bit close together coming in from the southwest, or at least a westerly direction. And that's going to bring a bit more mixing of air. It's going to mean that inversion doesn't take place towards the surface. We see temperatures around or above average for northwest Scotland. So a bit of a mix. So the areas that have seen colder conditions over the last few days are going to be going a bit milder. Areas that have been chilly but not particularly cold are going to stay chilly during the middle of next week. Now beyond that, it all depends on what happens with this high pressure, as we'll see by this latest, or by the 6Z GFS run, as the 12Z is coming out right as I speak, but it's not fully come out, it's only come out for a few days. Now, as you can see, the high pressure tries to ridge towards Greenland. All models are now pretty much showing this. High pressure trying to get towards Greenland. Most of the stratospheric polar vortex has sort of been displaced to the other side of the pole than it's been for the last few weeks, whereas it's been mostly across northern Canada, which has meant more of a westerly wind, colder air there, bringing stronger low pressure systems, meaning any high pressure builds to the north are getting sort of pushed away. However, a lot of the stratospheric polar vortex is now over Scandinavia, parts of Russia, which means high pressure is trying to reach further northwards. And this latest GFS run, we see a really quite cold northerly wind in a week's time. Now, it is very transient. It does last a few days. I mean, 24, 48 hours, maybe even for some a bit longer than that, a few days as that high pressure topples. So it could be cold from maybe Sunday sort of Wednesday time. So a decent little cold spell could be widespread snow potential with that. But by no means is it a locked-in cold spell. As you can see, high pressure does topple again, and we do still stay reasonably chilly with no massive southwesterly winds, but not really direct northerly or easterly winds. And you can just see transits of northerly, northwesterly flows looking pretty chilly, but nothing too crazy cold. And you can see right towards the end of the run, we're seeing another quite cold northerly wind coming back in from the north. And if we do have a look at the air mass we could be seeing next week, you can see -10 line getting through, and potentially even the -15 line to parts of northern Scotland. So really quite cold air mass. Again, it's not guaranteed at this stage. As we see the ensemble, this is one of the colder runs. A lot of them are showing colder conditions, but this is definitely one of the colder runs on the 6Z ensembles with its cold northerly airflow. Now, if we have a look at the GM, see how that does compare, you can see again, high pressure building in, that's pretty guaranteed now. Dry conditions in the south, cold as well. And then we try and see it ridging further northwards, but we don't see much of it up until day 10. You can see things just stay high pressure dominated. You can see it's looking like we could be going into a more of a northerly wind, but nothing really comes off. Really quite confused GM run. Not going mild westerly, but not getting that northerly wind in. We sort of keep high pressure over the top of the UK, seeing little cut-off lows develop. So yeah, bit of a weird run, this GM run, but it is a scenario, of course, and we'll have to keep an eye on it, of course. You do see high pressure towards the end of the run, ridge towards Greenland, not too much low pressure out in northeast Canada, or at least not as much as we've had recently, so we'd hope that hold on for another day or two, and we would get some northerly winds in beyond this. So a similar pattern, but just not quite coming off the same. If we do have a look at the ECMWF, see how that does compare again. High pressure building up over the next few days, and then we see that ridging further northwards. And by day 10, a little bit similar to the GM in terms of not fully getting that northerly coming off, but similar to the GFS, it is quite blocked actually. High pressure getting up towards Greenland. We see real cold air just to our north, ready, poised to move southwards, as you see this high pressure trying to connect up towards Greenland, and I would expect this to go cold if we did run another day or two. So by all means, is that the timelines are not synced up yet. It's not guaranteed to come off, but there definitely is a trend now within all the models and the ensembles for at least colder conditions for a period of time, whether it's a cold snap or just generally chillier conditions. Definitely does look like we're going to be seeing something colder over the next week or two. Just how sort of severe it is, how long it is, that's the real big questions we've got at this stage. Not many of the runs are showing anything massive, mild and westerly. A lot of them showing high pressure, quite dominant, and at times cold and northerly to northwesterly winds. And now if we do have a look at the ECMWF ensembles, which shows this really well. Now if we do go out to day 7 where uncertainty starts to build, you can see all of them still have high pressure to our, over the top to our west, and a lot of them have seen it migrating towards Greenland. You can see all slight different orientations and positions of the lows, but broadly a very similar pattern. However, if we move out to day 10, you can see the big differences. 16 or 31.4%, so not a massive majority. You can see there is quite a big split at day 10. High pressure to our west and just a bit to our north would be more of a northwesterly flow, but still under high pressure will be generally quite dry, chilly, frosty, but nothing too amazing. By no means massively cold, just chilly really. Another 13, including the control and operational run. Interestingly, operational runs in this category because it wasn't really showing this low pressure plunging southwards, but perhaps that is what it's going to do if we did run on another day or two, as I said. High pressure reaching towards Greenland, a proper northerly wind, pretty chilly indeed with that, but again, depends on how long it lasts. It would be very cold for a couple of days at least with the scenario, but again, how long does it last? Another 12 or 23.5% high pressure over the top of the UK, pretty chilly conditions similar to what we're going to see this week. Another 10 or 19.6% have a northerly wind, but once again, high pressure not getting quite towards Greenland, and I would suspect it would be just transient. If we go to 300 hours, again you see the different scenarios, 23 or 45.1%. Have high pressure still trying to ridge up towards Greenland and northeast Canada, so it would be more of a westerly flow, but more of a northwesterly flow. So similar to what the GFS does in the longer term, where by no means is it massively mild, but it's not massively cold either. It's generally a westerly, more unsettled theme with a chillier air mass. You can see 15 trying to build a Scandinavian high. Not massively cold at this stage because it's not got fully to our north and is starting to pull in a bitterly cold easterly wind, but it would be an easterly flow, chilly continental air mass, cold, but not particularly snowy at this stage. Another 13 are going really quite cold. Similar to what the ECMWF was showing, the operational run, but holding it for a good couple of days. We're seeing bitterly cold north to northeasterly winds. So that's the one scenario that could produce a prolonged cold spell, because only 25.5% of the ECMWF ensembles are going for that. So by no means is it a majority option. The majority at the moment show a bit of a colder spell or colder snap for a few days, and then that's where the models do diverge. And then right towards the end of the run, 360 hours, again, big, quite muddled. We've got 23 or 45.1% high pressure towards Greenland, but more of a westerly flow, just shifting the jet stream, a little bit amplified, but nothing too crazy. Would be a transient northerly with that scenario. 15 high pressure over top of the UK, chilly continental flow, another 13 of high pressure out in the middle Atlantic towards Iceland. Would be quite a cold northerly or northeasterly flow, but again, no massive high pressure signal, so I do suspect it would be a little bit floppy and potentially transient. Now we see that world reflected on the GFS Ensembles. You can see pretty mild for the upper air temperatures over the next 5 or 6 days before we see a big drop off around the 16th, 17th of January, and that's why there is decent confidence that we're going to see a cold spell at some point. But again, it's how long it lasts and how potent it is. The majority, I'd say about 2/3 to 3/4, have us going into a cold, wintry air mass, -5 degrees 850 HPA or below. The average even gets towards -4 at one point. But if we did follow each of these individual ensemble runs, you would see they only go really cold for maybe 2, 3, 4 days, and then go back to average. So by no means is it looking like a prolonged cold spell here. Just the reason why we've got so much scatter and some of these going really cold in the long term, some going in the shorter term like the operational run, is because the time frame is muddled at this stage, not exactly knowing exactly when that high pressure will take control over Greenland. So I'm pretty confident we'll see something colder, but again, as I said, there is a lot of uncertainties with how cold it gets and sort of the time frame with that as well. Of course, there are some milder runs. We can't discount those, of course, as we've seen with the December flip we had. We can't discount those by any means, but we've seen quite a consistent ensemble forecast from the GFS that we're going to be seeing something colder in around the 16th, 17th of January to maybe the 20th, 21st of January. And we're just going to have to see how it does resolve over the next few days, because as we get into sort of the 5-7 day time frame, we should start to see it sort of come with a bit more resolution. We should be able to see roughly what the pressure patterns will be. Again, there could be small changes within that, but we'll have a much better idea, and this scatter should start to sort of disappear. I would expect over the 24 hours we would see if some of these runs that are showing something much colder around the 17th of January, whether those are correct or others that hold on a little bit milder, or at least that high pressure staying more over the top of the UK than pulling out to our west a little bit longer. Now, if we have a look at sea level pressure, so you can see high pressure generally over the next sort of week or so before we see a bit of a drop, bit of a spread around 17th or 18th of January, and that's all where that high pressure goes. A lot of them keep high pressure near or close by, and that's what we saw with the ECMWF Ensembles as well, so I do suspect we're going to see a lot of high pressure influence over the next few weeks, but it's just really if we do see any colder wintry interludes within that. If you have a look at dew points, it shows you the general air mass. You can see a little bit milder over the next few days before it drops to in and around freezing for the next few weeks, really, which means precipitation over the next few weeks is going to potentially be wintry of nature, simply because we've got quite cold air masses in and around the UK. You can see some dropping off quite low, some staying a little bit milder, and again, that's where we have those uncertainties. But anything around freezing does show you that it is really relatively chilly over the next few weeks. And again, we'll have a look at the UK Met Office run in a minute, but 2 metre temperatures generally, you can see the average is around 4, 5, 6 degrees. So around to below average over the next week or two. So I do suspect that CT, which started off really quite mild throughout the first week, first few days of January, which has now dropped to around 1 or 2 degrees above average, will drop to around, maybe even not below average over the next week or two as we see chilly days and quite cold nights. Now, if we do have a look at the UK Met Office run, see how that does evolve. So if we do run through, you can see generally today we've had a few showers in the north, but nothing too crazy. And then the weather front pushing in from the southwest, bringing some patchy rain, as you saw by the live radar. It should move eastwards, giving some heavy precipitation over the north, but should turn more patchy through tomorrow. So it could be quite a miserable day with a little drizzle, cloud around, but it should be one of our last for a period of time. We see a weather front move through early hours of Tuesday, before things turning much drier. A bit cloudy in the north, as I said. Around that high, we could see a bit more precipitation and some milder temperatures, but under the centre of that high in the south, you could see freezing fog or just generally fog forming and colder temperatures for the rest of this working week. If we have a look at max temperatures, you can see early this morning, pretty chilly conditions, and then as we do run through to tomorrow afternoon, or sorry, this afternoon we saw 6-7 degrees. Tonight, chilly across the north, maybe in the central areas, a few chilly conditions in here or there, but nothing too crazy cold. But tomorrow afternoon, temperatures getting to around 7-8 degrees in the east, 11-12 in the west, as milder temperatures do take over, and you can see generally Tuesday afternoon temperatures getting around 8 or 9 degrees. But by Wednesday, that inversion's taking hold. 6 or 7 in the south, but potentially chilly in a few locations and an overnight frost. And by Thursday, real quite hard overnight frost in the south. In the north, though, quite mild across parts of northwest Scotland. And Thursday in the day, temperatures really struggling. A few areas 4 to 7 degrees, so around to below average temperatures. And of course, it will vary where we see fog, cloud, sunshine. So those things make big differences. By Friday, really cold nights. So this is why I say that CT is going to drop, because we are going to see some chilly conditions over the next week. And then there's the potential, of course, for some colder, maybe more wintry conditions. But at this stage, it just looks like the potential for cold snap, nothing too sustained. So I don't want to get anyone's hopes up too massively at this stage, but there definitely are trends for a cold snap. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.